we're heading to a place where reps and teams aren't going to touch the tools at all. So the work happens in the background, and then the agents update the systems as where it's needed. There's 100 different approaches for each different company in different industries. You need to find out what works. You need to find out what sticks. And that, this is what Clay and all these tools are allowing you to do, is allowing you to experiment at scale. How important it is to let's clean the CRM, let's clean HubSpot, and let's get all the right contact information in. The fixing the foundations is super, super important.
Today's episode is with Stephen Bates, founder of Cabo Insights, where he helps technology companies redesign their go-to-market systems for the AI era. Stephen started his career back in DocuSign and Salesforce, where he progressed from BDR to enterprise account executive before founding Cabo Insights, where he helps technology companies build AI-powered go-to-market systems using tools like Clay to improve sales efficiency, targeting, and revenue operations. In this episode, we get into why traditional outbound is breaking down, how companies are using Clay and AI to build smarter go-to-market systems, why clean CRM data is the foundation for successful AI adoption, and what the future of sales really looks like. If you're a founder, CRO, or revenue leader looking to build a more efficient AI-powered go-to-market engine, you're going to get huge value from this episode. So let's jump straight in. Stephen, great to see you.
Thank you. You too.
Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. Excited to get into it and talk all things go-to-market.
Yeah, we have a good plan. So yeah, I think it's going to be super practical as well. So Stephen, let's kick things off. Could you give us a quick introduction, 30-second introduction, who you are, what you do?
Okay, 30-second version. I am the founder of Cabo Insights. We're basically the go-to-market engineering function inside a company's team. So what we focus on is rebuilding go-to-market systems for the agent era that typically sit underneath sales and marketing. So what this means is that companies can operate their go-to-market more intelligently and ultimately target their customers at the right time with the right message. And that's what we try to focus on.
Bro, great. And just before we jump into, I suppose, present, the business, you started your career a number of years ago in big tech, right? DocuSign, then Salesforce, and you worked your way up from BDR to AE. Like, I suppose, what was that experience like working in big, massive organizations in sales specifically?
So interestingly enough, like over 10 years ago, I went to San Francisco because I knew tech and software was the booming and growing thing at the time. And I didn't even know, to be honest, what a SDR, BDR, I didn't even know what Salesforce was. And I actually remember walking around downtown San Francisco, looking at their Salesforce tower, and I asked somebody, I said, what's that? And they said Salesforce. And I said, what's Salesforce? So I ended up getting my foot in the door with this early stage startup just due to the type of person that I am and trying to make things happen. I started off my career at an early stage startup doing BDR work. And then ever since then, I've been in that world of sales, business development, outbound. And then when I came back from San Francisco, I joined DocuSign for 6 months and I jumped ship and joined Salesforce. And the reason why I joined Salesforce was at the time, the career path was just very laid out. Do this to achieve this. And when you achieve this, you go to the next level and then the next level. And at that time, that's exactly what I wanted. And for me, the type of person that I am, when there's a clear path to achieve something, I'll go for it. So did the business development BDR work, senior BDR, and then moved to London, where I was part of the enterprise corporate sales team. And I think taking everything from my time in San Francisco, Dublin, and then London, like that's where I saw everything as it relates to like outbound and how outbound actually works. And that's also actually where I saw outbound actually start to fail. The whole concept of hiring lots of headcount and reps to achieve numbers. So I'm sure we'll get into that in a second. So just share a bit more about the actual journey.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. And I hope you know who Salesforce are now. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, that's it. And I suppose, like you mentioned there, the outbound process and like it changed a lot. So how were you doing outbound back then?
very manual. Even at Salesforce, to be honest, it was quite manual. Like it was nowhere. The access to tools that we have today was just it wasn't around.
Mm.
Facing the same problems of spending time doing manual research, trying to find the right contact details, researching the person on LinkedIn, sending manual connection requests, drafting messages, spending 15, 20 minutes, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I'm actually not against spending time crafting really well drafted emails.
Yeah.
Um, but everything was manual. Um, Everything was high pressure. Everything was stressful. Everything was last minute. Do this, go do this. You have to deliver this number. I don't think much has changed, but yeah, that's where I sort of started. So I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it as a BDR in San Francisco. I seen it in DocuSign. I saw it in Salesforce. I lived it. I lived the manual effort and the whole concept of like, let's hire 20 people and the whole
Mm.
predictable revenue model that Salesforce made famous. I've lived it and I've seen what the other side of it looks like, which is a different world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose companies are still doing that, aren't they, as well? That's the other side to it. I suppose
Yeah,
we'll talk about your business and how that's changing in the next couple of minutes. But it is there's better ways to do things, and now especially with AI.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
And you then moved in the complete opposite. Well, I suppose you started in startup, and then you went into enterprise businesses, and then you went back into startup. So I suppose what was that transition like? And I suppose what made you make that transition?
I thought I thought jumping back into startups was going to solve my problems that I had with working with big corporate companies.
Okay.
Um, and I quickly realized after 6 months that the same issues were arising, and I just felt like I wanted to go work for myself. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be my own
Mm.
boss. I wanted to surround myself with people who I actually wanted to surround myself with. And but the learning, like, look, Salesforce, there's no better place to learn how to be an amazing salesperson, learn how to show up every month, learn how to present up to upper management, learn how to hit a number. So like
Yeah.
it's an amazing sales skill, right? So and I'd encourage anybody to go and try it out. But the startup world is the same. I think every company has fundamentally the same issues. It's like how do we build more pipeline? How do we be more efficient? How do we serve our customers better? And how do we reach our customers at the right time? I think like that's across the board. It doesn't really change because a bigger company sells to a different ICP versus a startup. So I think that the same the same priorities are the same across the board.
Mm. So your mentality in the bigger organization was, okay, this is unorganized to a certain extent, and your thought process was, let's go into a startup where it could be better or it could be more organized. And then you went in there and you're like, okay, wow, this is the same setup. Is that how it was?
Both had, let's say, both had unique challenges.
Yeah.
One of yeah, the startup world is just when a company is scaling so fastly, I think the people management becomes a challenge
Mm.
rather than like the processes are frustrating as well, and because they're growing so fast, everybody like everything's changing so quickly. But the situation that I was just in, the management of the people as things started to scale was just messy, and I just felt like it wasn't really the environment that I wanted to be in. So that's well, actually, I got made redundant, and it was a blessing in disguise because I've been working for myself since then.
Yeah, yeah. And you seem to be loving it and doing fantastic as well. And I suppose today, right, or since you started the business a couple of years ago, I'm sure there's a lot of learning for you as well throughout this process of, okay, outbound can be done differently. So, like, where did you start with that?
When I started to work by myself,
Yeah, like to learn
um,
this new way of outbound and I suppose implementing systems, and where did you learn all this stuff?
um, look, I think the timing is everything, right? I think
Mm.
the way things fell, um, there was the start of the shift to AI and all these tools.
Mm.
It wasn't quite where it is today. but I felt like the space itself was starting to change. There was, people talking about different tools on LinkedIn and new ways of working. And I think like 4 years ago, people started to initially start talking about, the importance of buying lookalike domains and don't send outbound off your main domain and buy all
Yeah.
these new emails, which is crazy that companies are still doing it today when I speak to them. But that was for me, that was like the turning point. But even then, the process to set that all up was manual. And now the
Mm,
evolution of how quickly things are moving, there's now companies and tools and softwares that automate that whole process itself. And
yeah.
not to get into that, but I'm just, that's where I started. It was just a timing thing. It was LinkedIn. I was sourcing jobs from Upwork. I was just like working with companies trying to figure a thing out and failing miserably. But then through failure, you learn. And
Yeah.
that's where we are today.
Bro. And with Cabot Insights now, your business, who do you specifically help? What size businesses? Who specifically?
So yeah, it's definitely changed over the years. And
Mm,
back when I was in Ireland, so we're based in Dubai. We've been set up here for over a year and a half. When I was in Ireland, I was more focused on early stage, founder led, under 1 million. And
yeah.
naturally, just as things have grown, the business has grown, and I focus on companies that I enjoy working with. They're typically 20 to 100 million in revenue. They have an existing BDR function, they have an existing AE function, and that the whole process and the activities of the reps is done manually. So they're building lists manually, they're doing outreach manually, they're jumping between three different tools. There's no intelligence layer, there's no
Mm,
TAM mapping, no ICP scoring, there's no signal detection. And when you talk to a company about those aspects of go to market and implementing them for a team that has headcount, the efficiency gains and the ROI is just a lot larger than working with an early stage startup that has not even
yeah.
one sales rep. So we're never, my talk track with the company is never like, hey, fire all these people because of AI.
Yeah.
It's like it's probably actually the opposite. It's like keep your people, hire people, and put them into the role so that they can be good at what they do. Which is, as you know, like talking to your previous podcast guests, it's the human to human connection is so important. So the ability to
Mm,
give your reps the intelligence to have the right conversation with a human face to face over a phone call or on Zoom, that's where the time should be spent.
yeah. It's so important. I suppose, I was even chatting to another guest about this a few weeks ago, and it was around how many people actually probably left sales in the past because of all the admin stuff that they had to do, whereas now you can kind of get rid of that and then enable them to be more human and face to face with the customers.
As
Like,
well, just on
yeah,
the you mentioned about like, the type of companies and the challenges that those companies would typically have. Look, 9 times out of 10, uh, you come across the same situation
mm,
when you speak to businesses, and it's their data is messy. They don't really have a clear definition as to who their ICP is, who they should be targeting. Um, they've multiple different tools that don't connect and speak to each other. Um, so that like the starting at that base level, which I feel like, I don't know if it's a cliche or like beating the drum. It's like it's it's such a simple thing to say, but it's actually so important.
yeah. No, I hear it all the time, especially around ICP clarity not being there. And I think if you don't have clarity on ICP, and if you pile on AI on top of it, it's just a mess. So I suppose if you're working with a business, you're going in there, like, what's the first thing you're looking at? Is it that ICP clarity first, and then build on top of that?
Yeah, it has to be. Let's look at the data. So your CRM data, when has it last been enriched? Where's the data coming from? What data source are you using? Are you using an outdated legacy tool like ZoomInfo or Apollo, where
Mm,
it's known that their data is just not good and the data is not verified, and their stock price and their stock price at the moment probably reflects the challenges that they're going through. And that's where the tools such as Clay, and not just Clay, but all these other tools, the ability to connect into multiple different data providers is such an important factor to the initial process. So looking at the data within the CRM, but where I like to start is, let's map your total addressable market.
Mm.
Let's look at it across the industries, if you operate across industries. And then let's build a customized scoring framework that is super relevant and customized to your ICP. So either we take your top 50 to 100 customers, we put it through a qualification agent or a research agent in Claude. And what that does, it extracts the common themes and the common elements across each of those customers.
Yeah.
So sometimes a customer will say to us, hey, we know the 6 or 7 data points that we want to look for, right? Have they hired in marketing in the last 6 months? Has the headcount growth been over 20%? Have they gone through a rebrand or a branding pivot in the last couple of months? Have they hired a chief marketing officer? And then let's say, there's more than 10 case studies on their website, right? That's a very hard thing to do and find out with a team of humans and people. It would take
Yeah.
months. But
Yeah.
now with agents and workflows that we have built, we basically build custom scoring frameworks that does all that research. It builds the scoring in. So then what a company has is its total addressable market, which is, let's say, 10,000 companies. It knows the top 20% that it needs to go after. And we have
Yeah.
data. We have data from our customers that proves that with the targeting that we have done, their conversion rates have gone up, their meeting rates have gone up, and they're having better conversations with prospects.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer because I suppose at the end of the day, the old model was have a ton of BDRs, outbound to those 10,000.
Yeah,
And I suppose there was no segmentation. And it
no
was like, okay,
segmentation, no.
yeah,
They personalize because of their job title and then maybe the industry. Um, And yeah, that's what AI is, in allowing companies to build super segmented groups of ICP targets so that the messaging and the targeting is super relevant to that group. And that's where
yeah,
we are today. The ability to do that, the ability to personalize, the ability to create you can call it nearly like ABM at scale.
mm.
Um, that's what these tools and AI is allowing companies to do.
Yeah, it's all wild. I have so much questions around it, to be honest with you. So I'm like, I want to start though with the ICP. So like, because you're seeing this a lot, right? And I see it a lot around unclear ICP, and then we can jump into the tools after that. What is a good TAM versus a bad TAM? And does it depend? I'm assuming it depends as well on the motion, right? And the size of the deals. But like, do you ever go into businesses and go, okay, wow, this TAM is a lot smaller than we thought. We can't do this? Or is it too big? Like, what's a good TAM?
Um, Look, I don't think there's look there's you can't control the controllables. You can't make your TAM bigger. The only way that you can make your TAM bigger is that you target different industries, or you build a new product, or you go after a new ICP. So if your TAM is your TAM and it's small or it's large, that's just the way it is. And I'll give you a perfect example. We're working with an Irish company called T-Pro, and they sell into NHS hospitals. That's it.
Yeah.
In the UK, that's their TAM. I think 146 trusts, and then in Ireland they sell into hospitals.
Yeah, so I'm assuming because it's a small TAM, the deal size is significant. Like it's an enterprise motion. Like they don't
Yeah,
necessarily
look,
need to have a
it
big
is. It's
TAM.
a
Yeah,
transformational project that the trusts have to go through, right? So then that,
yeah,
uh, but again, they can't change that fact. So if your TAM is your TAM, your TAM is your TAM. Um,
fair.
so I don't know if I can answer that. But obviously, with a bigger TAM, you're going to get. Let's say that we're just focused purely on like the idea of like running outbound. Naturally, you're going to have more responses and more chances to target more people because you've more people to experiment with. So with a bigger TAM, it doesn't necessarily mean it's easier, because again, your deal size might be a bit smaller. Um, so yeah, I'm not 100% sure on whether what the right number is for TAM.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, it's more curiosity because I suppose some companies they don't necessarily want to narrow down their ICP because they're afraid their TAM will get too small. Um, and I suppose that would lead me to the case of, okay, what is a good TAM? But again, I suppose there's a lot of factors to it, isn't there? Like deal
Yeah.
size and product, and then how easy it is to implement other solutions into the product. So I suppose once you have your TAM, then right, you're going into these businesses. What tools are you using with these companies?
So look, we are a clay agency. So every project that we've worked on in the last that I've worked on, and my team has worked on, clay is the main orchestration tool that we recommend and that we build within our client's instance. Um, but the GTM space has changed significantly, not only in the last 2 years, but also in the last like 6 months. And I'm sure we'll get into that. So Clay is definitely the main tool that we use, but it's not the only tool. We're starting way more to leverage and use Cloud Code within our workflows. So a lot of agencies, like myself, which I'm not sure if you've seen on LinkedIn, but there's this whole narrative of like Clay's outdated, Clay's too
Mm,
expensive, Clay's too it limits people. They're going after enterprise and they don't care about agencies anymore. And then actually in the last 24 hours, they've launched a new feature that allows people to use Clay within your terminal, so Cloud Code or Codex, which is a
okay.
huge change in the space, which we can touch on. Um, but look, we use like N8N to help us build some amazing, workflows that require, no humans involved, and they're able to produce reports, give insights into the business, connect the systems across, Clay, outbound systems, and CRMs.
Bro. Yeah, some really solid tools there. And I suppose just for anyone that doesn't know Clay, could you just give us a quick rundown of what is Clay?
Yeah. So Clay is a GTM, a go-to-market intelligence platform that allows companies to run workflows end to end, all within the same platform. So it gives companies abilities to access multiple different data providers, build lists, run campaigns, clean your CRM, connect to other automation tools that allows basic companies to operate and experiment different go-to-market motions. I would say that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, good.
I'm
That's a
not
good
sure.
explanation.
I'm not sure if they would describe it like that, but that's what came
Yeah.
to my mind.
Yeah, well, you're using it. You're the expert using it, so you're the best person to say it. And you mentioned the whole scoring piece, right? Is all that done in Clay, or how is that done? Like, how are all these data points collected and then brought into one area?
Yeah, we mainly do the scoring in Clay because personally, the reason why we've stuck using Clay is I like the UI and the UX element of it,
Yeah.
and the being able to see um what you're doing. And I think that's one of the challenges with using a cloud code or in your terminal is that the visibility element is hard to actually see what's going on. But basically what we do, and I might share my screen just for
Go for it. Yeah.
a quick second. So here's a recent project that we did in terms of like ICP scoring, right? And what we're trying to identify is whether the account is hot, warm, or should it monitor it? And maybe you build different sequences and nurturing campaigns for the lower scored accounts. But what we're doing is right as a first step, we're identifying what the signals are and the points associated to that signal. And each of these are built in a clay table. So each column will have each of the signals. And then what happens is that when you go through each of the signals at the end, it applies the score because it adds up all the different points that you've applied. But in this example, I'll just give you a sense. So we're looking at funding stage, company size, what their business model is, and what category the company sits within. But then other things that we're looking at is, has the company expanded into market or released a product recently? Have they
Mm.
been through an M&A activity? Are they hiring in marketing? Have they made a senior marketing hire in the last 6 months? Have they received funding, and have they done a recent rebrand or pivot? And actually, are they on a priority list? Meaning, have they ever been on a Fortune 500 or a fast growth awards list? So imagine, again, a human, you probably wouldn't be able to do that you could, but it'll take a lot of time and a lot of headcount. So
Yeah.
what we're doing is we've put that into an ICP qualification. The scoring engine is here. We tier the total addressable market, and then we've helped them with other things. But I just wanted to show that to give you a sense of what it looks like.
Yeah, it's so good. It's great to get a visual of it, because I suppose that brings back to your point around getting the 20%. That's actually how you do it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
suppose then that feeds into the slack of the AEs to then, or the BDRs to actually go after those hot accounts. And that's updated daily. Is that right? Or how does it work?
Yeah. So as it relates to like ICP scoring, like we typically say, like 3 to 6 months, you could revisit it and to see
Yeah, yeah.
what has changed in the market. But I think for a company that has a large account list, like you could probably get away with doing this once, and then maybe 6 months say, okay, what have we learned? What's within our CRM or our call transcripts that we have picked up about our customers and prospects that we can extract? And that's, again, some of the things that AI is allowing companies to do. Is like, it's not just what signals can we find externally, it's also what first party data do we have within our closed deals, our won deals, our lost deals, our gong transcripts. And they're all things that can then be applied to the future ICP. So that recurring element of ICP analysis, again, super important.
Very good. Yeah. So basically, you've agents then looking at current, like the CRM, all updates going on there,
Yeah.
and call recordings, as you said. Yeah, insane. And like the scoring system that you have, how do you know, or how do companies know what to monitor?
Look,
How do you
it
work that out?
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a challenge that some companies will say to us. It's like, we don't really know. Or, I met a customer this week in Dubai who said that, which I don't think was inaccurate because of what they sell, but they said every company we can sell to every company in the world.
Yeah. That's.
And then when
What do
you
you do
hear
with
that,
that?
you're like, okay, that's fine, but we need to somehow um make that target more narrow. So
Yeah.
what I did in preparation for that meeting is I put, and this is where we'll probably get to if we talk about what has changed in go to market over the last 3 to 6 months. But we have built in our own Cloud Code system here in Cabo Insights, which we have rebuilt over the last 3 to 6 months because of Enzo on my team who manages our internal operations. In Cloud Code, we have skills that go and execute specific tasks that are related to enrichment, research, qualification, signal detection, and a couple of other bits as it relates to ICP. So before my meeting, I said, I'm meeting so and so. I said, prepare a list of targets who that company should go after, build a scoring and signal detection workflow, find companies based on the signals that you have found, and then present it in a slide deck for my meeting.
Insane.
And
So
that's
you
it.
have that, yeah, going
So
into it.
that's a skill that we have implemented
Mm.
within our cloud code. So when we run that, basically the end output that I got was a 6-page presentation with my branding with Cabo Insights. And it goes through, here's what we know about your ICP. Here are the signals that we would recommend you to look for. Here are some examples of companies that we have found based on those signals. And this is what we would hand over to your AEs and your BDRs. And they're like,
Well,
that's exactly what we
I'd say you
need.
never lost a deal with that kind of prep. Like, that's
to,
like wild.
no, to be fair, this is very new. Like
Yeah.
I've only done that 3 times in the last couple of weeks. but like, because it's look, what's happening is moving so fast that it's new for
Mm,
us as well. And I don't want companies listening to this, or founders or leaders, getting overwhelmed, because that's what's happening. And I get overwhelmed with how fast things are changing, and people talking about this and this new way of working. Like, there's no point overthinking or getting ahead of yourself. Like, take a step back, understand what is it that we're trying to fix. What are the
yeah.
3 to 4 things that are taking our reps a long time to do that we think AI can help with? Document them, and then figure out where AI can make immediate impact. And that's where I would recommend. So I know I get
Yeah.
excited when I talk about this, but I don't want to overwhelm people as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so important, because I think even the biggest challenge around ICP clarity, like you don't need AI necessarily for that. Like AI confuses it, but I suppose getting that clarity first, and then everything else is kind of just tools, and they change quite a bit, right? But getting that clarity and direction is really, really important. And I suppose that brings me on to the next question, and we touched on it, but what has changed in the last 3-6 months compared to a year ago?
So yeah, I was thinking about this earlier on, and I was having a conversation recently with a prospect, and I feel like everybody's talking about signals as if they're like a new thing. And I think the CEO of HubSpot a couple of months ago posted about their platform being able to identify signals now. But like, signals have been around way before I even started my career in San Francisco. But back then, we were all monitoring the same stuff that we're monitoring today. It was harder to do. People moving positions, um, people who've opened jobs, funding, new hires. They were all things that we were looking for, but it just took more
Yeah.
time, and it
And
was more.
consolidating it took a while as well. Yeah. Big one. Yeah.
Exactly. So the ability to act on it fast just took a lot of time. So then 2 years ago, Clay came around, and what Clay basically has done is, or what it has done and what it did, it gave the ability for companies to act on signals with speed. So the ability to identify a signal, act on that signal, became way more accessible. So now everybody was talking about signals and all that kind of stuff. But signals, as I believe it, have been around for a long time. So then I think the shift that has happened over the last 3 to 6 months, which I think, if you may have seen, but Salesforce have launched, Salesforce Headless 360,
Yeah.
and
Seen that.
then um, in the last 24 hours, Clay have launched CLI and API, which allows people to use it in their terminal. So what I see happening is that we're heading to a place where reps and teams aren't going to touch the tools at all. So the work happens in the background, and then the agents update the systems as where it's needed. And this is what we're talking about in terms of like helping companies rebuild their infrastructure for the agents. Is like, we're now at a point is, how do we make our agents be successful and efficient in what they need to do? And I think that's the shift that's going to happen in, a lot of reps now. I watched a video of one of the revenue leaders at Anthropic, and she was on stage talking about how their reps and their AEs and their BDRs are doing their job, and none of them log into tools anymore. They open up their Cloud Code, they open up their terminal, they open up their Slack, and they tell the agent to go do this, update this, and that's where we're getting to.
Wow. And then that rep then is just there for the execution.
Yep,
Yeah.
execution, um, everything that they need to know about their day, their email inbox, changes in their TAM, call follow-up transcripts, everything is done for them. Their CRM is updated based on the conversation that they just had. Um, Information is flagged against a deal that may be of risk because of something that has happened. Like, that's where we're
Mm,
going. It's like the intelligence piece and the intelligence layer is going to be presented to each of the reps. so they can act more smartly and that they can have the right conversations. Because again, going back to the point earlier on, we want to be able to um, enable our reps to have smart conversations and relevant conversations and timely conversations. And that's what AI is allowing companies to do.
I suppose the data is so important then. And like CRM systems traditionally were pretty much graveyards, right? So now that it's open, now like the headless CRM that Salesforce just launched that has agents now in it, is there a big task to actually look at the data first and clean up the data? Is that something that you look at?
1000%.
Yeah. Is that a
I,
challenge?
yeah. And, you know, like I had a conversation today with one of my customers, the CMO of a quite large UK company. And when we started the engagement, I was recommending and pushing how important it is to let's clean the CRM, let's clean HubSpot, and let's get all the right contact information in. And they decided against it. And they wanted to
Mm,
run with jumping into Outbound and fixing some workflows. And now we're going back to the data piece because it was missed.
yeah.
And I told them that we shouldn't do it, but you know that's what they wanted to do. So the fixing the foundations is super important. So that Irish company that I spoke about, T Pro, we cleaned and enriched 290,000 records in HubSpot,
Well,
and
how long did that
then
take?
we
1 minute.
did we
With
deployed
AI.
5,000 agents.
Yeah.
No, it's like that was 3-4 weeks of work. Um,
I suppose that is the overwhelming part, but not necessarily the overwhelming part, but like there's nearly this race to get things implemented, but then again, you have to kind of go at it slow and look at the foundations first and then implement it. And I say companies just don't have the patience for that, you know?
I was going like this was one of my talking points. If you were going to ask like what does one go to market team do different than another that makes them better, like what makes one company better than the other is 100% patience. Um, and that instead of measuring activities like how many emails did you send and how many calls did you make, like the ability to say as an organization, we know that the current way of what we're doing isn't working or there's challenges that we need to fix and that we're in agreement that it's going to take time to get there. And to get there, we're going to have to experiment. We're going to have to test. We're going to have to get things wrong to eventually get to a point where we know what we want to do and we implement the right ways of working. And I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to have patience because people are under pressure.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, companies aren't hitting their numbers. It's you know, it's a tough time out there. So I'm not sitting here saying you have to have patience, but the ability just to get that buy-in from the executive level across your team to say, hey, we're going through a journey here. And
Yeah.
at the end of this journey, we're going to be in a better place. And I think that's what make one go-to-market function perform better than the other.
Do you think it's to do with size as well? Like you mentioned there, go to market function, but like if you're an early stage business, you can work really quickly and implement things really quickly versus the bigger orgs. Are you
100%.
seeing? Yeah.
Even for us, like, as I said, like we've rolled out Cloud Code within Cabo Insights, and we're only able to do that quickly and efficiently because I have no operational or technical debt. I have
Yeah.
no existing tools or tech or people that need upskilling and training. We're a lean operation and we're building things from the ground up. So early stage companies that are listening to this, you're in a way better situation and at a competitive advantage compared to some of the traditional legacy competitors in your industry. So if
Yeah.
you're able to say, hey, look, let's pause on some of the priorities and let's like rebuild the underlining systems and the foundations to allow us to be successful in the era of the agents, you're going to outrun your competitors 100%.
Such a good point. Yeah. And I suppose we talked a lot about getting those 20% top customers. Once you get them, what's working now from an outreach perspective?
I'll tell you what's not working.
Yeah, that could work.
And then I'll tell you what does work. I'll tell you, like, if companies email by itself or email in silo or working with an agency that says we'll get you 20 meetings a month and we'll run your email and we guarantee
Yeah,
all these results, delete their email or block them because they're talking. Um, and that's what I've learned the most over the last 3 years is the importance of multi-channel, multi-stakeholder outreach with the right message in conjunction with marketing supporting the sales outreach. So what I'm seeing now more and more and more is that when sales and marketing are both operating off the same focus and the same strategy and saying, okay, instead of just sending loads of emails and hoping, something lands, is let's, just as one example, let's do 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of brand awareness of LinkedIn ads or Google ads, for example.
yeah,
Then once that's done, let's look at the companies that engaged with those ads and send them personalized emails from the reps. Then a week later, we send them a LinkedIn connection request. And then in 2 weeks' time, we invite them to an event that is super specific for their job title and their role. So the way things are going is like everything has to be value led, it has to be resource led, it has to have a purpose. If you're not reaching out with a very clear reason or a value led approach, it's just not going to work. And like we've unfortunately been in situations where we've just done email and we didn't get the results that the client expected and that we thought we were going to get. And that's the way that email is going. It's like it's not just email only. It's everything across the board.
Is it because of the reply rates, or do you just mean it from a value perspective? It's just
Rep-
two, one, yeah,
Reply rates. Um, there is an element of, what do they say? How many buyers are in market at any one time? It's very, very low. So I think having that approach in conjunction with marketing allows the element of like educating, brand awareness, demand generation, which marketing should be doing, planning events, ebooks, guides, like that whole piece is an important part of the journey that companies need to do. And then you hit email when the time is right.
yeah,
So when companies are starting to show the right signals, right? Okay, we've targeted this company or these groups of companies. We've now seen that a certain percentage of them are on our website. They've now been on our website a couple of times in the last couple of months. We sent them a webinar, an invite to a webinar recently, and they downloaded an ebook. Now the sales rep should reach out to them with a message because it's relevant. They know who your brand is.
yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Love that. And if you were talking to, like, say, just founders listening to this, early stage founders, and they're like, wow, where do we even start with this? What would you say to them?
Come speak to us. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, there
Uh,
we go.
no, I'm joking.
You just hit
Where
with
would
value for the last 50 minutes, and then you just hit them with the punchline.
the upsell?
Yeah.
Where would I start? I would start by, like, I don't know if this is going to be groundbreaking advice, but like just research, listen to podcasts, try out tools, ask questions, join WhatsApp groups, play with the tools that you're planning on using, join webinars that the companies are running, and just start to educate yourself on what the capabilities of these tools are. That's
Mm.
like I would say first step. Because if you don't know what they can do, then you're going to be stuck in this circle of like figuring out where should we go or what actually is possible. So I think once you know the power of some of these tools, it will allow you then to think of like, okay, how do we apply this to our business? And as the founder and CEO or the executive of an organization, you should know everything about your business. So then you apply what you've learned against what you know about your business. And then you start to experiment to say, okay, what are the 3 things that we can try out in the next 4 weeks against an ICP, whether it's a call to action, whether it's a lead magnet, whether it's an offer, whether it's a new marketing campaign, whether it's personalized landing pages. or whether it's a new, product feature we want to launch, whatever it is, the we're now in with AI is like the product isn't the advantage anymore because anybody can make a product now. The distribution and getting people to use your product is what makes a company successful today. And
Mm.
you do that by being able to win their attention, and you do that by experimenting different approaches in your go to market. And there's 100 different approaches for each different company in different industries. You need to find out what works. You need to find out what sticks. And then like this is what Clay and all these tools are allowing you to do, is allowing you to experiment at scale.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, that's such an interesting point, because I suppose it is that there's no magic pill. It's just experiment and then use these tools to help you experiment as well, you know?
That's like we worked with a very early an early stage startup based out of Ireland that came through Dogpatch Labs, and I think like they had just got maybe 1 million in funding, had 2 or 3 customers. Right, we experimented against we ran 44 different campaigns across 8 different ICPs with 6 different offers, I think it was. And it allowed them to say, "Oh, actually, we now know who the persona is based on the data that we have built in Clay and the targeting that we've done and the responses that we've gotten from those tests and those experiments." So in that situation, the output wasn't, "Hey, Cabo, how many meetings did you get us?" It's, "How many experiments have you allowed us to do?" Because the acceleration of learning has now gone from something that might have taken 12 months now takes a month. And if you do that
Mm.
repetitively over and over and over and over again, you're going to find out what sticks. And then once you find out what sticks, you then start to invest, you put more resources behind it, and then you hopefully scale and then become a unicorn.
But that's such an educational piece, isn't it? Because that's a new way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned there, like traditionally agency would be like, how many meetings did I get? Whereas now it's like, okay, it's a longer process, but it's more strategic, and yeah, a different way of thinking about it. Stephen, that was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Insane insights and really practical stuff as well. If people wanted to reach out to you, how do they do it?
So look, I think the easiest place to find me is definitely on LinkedIn. I post most days or 3 to 4 times a week on all things go to market, AI, sometimes with a contrarian take. But yeah, find me on LinkedIn, Stephen Bates, Cabo Insights, caboinsights.com as well. And yeah, I just love having these conversations and connecting with people. And yeah, it's all at the end of the day a bit of fun, to be honest. It's
Nice.
I don't try to take things too seriously, but sometimes obviously you put yourself under a lot of pressure to deliver. But at the end of the day, we're here for a good time.
Yeah. And yeah, I just want to say the LinkedIn posts you do are very good. So if anyone's listening, get on the LinkedIn posts because they're so detailed. And I know you've had a few massive hits
Yeah.
with 1,000+ likes as well. But yeah, the content is great. And it's not generic stuff. It's very specific to what you're talking about today as well, and really valuable. So Stephen, thanks so much. Great to have you on.
Thanks so much, Ian. Great to have the chat, and let's do it again.